She hadn't eaten in 3 days when she collapsed on the factory floor. As Maria's vision blurred and the cold concrete pressed against her cheek, her final conscious thought wasn't of her own suffering. It was of 7-year-old Elijah waiting at the neighbor's apartment, wondering why mommy was late again. If you've ever wondered what true sacrifice looks like, stay with me until the end of this heartbreaking journey. And if this story touches your heart, please consider liking this video and subscribing to our channel for more stories that remind us of the strength of the human spirit. Maria Alvarez never planned to raise a child alone. At 23, she had dreams of finishing college, marrying her longtime boyfriend Daniel, and starting a family when they were financially stable. But life rarely follows our carefully laid plans. When the pregnancy test showed positive, Daniel's initial joy quickly faded into fear. 2 weeks later, Maria found herself alone in their small apartment, a note on the kitchen counter simply reading, "I'm not ready. I'm sorry." The first months of pregnancy were a blur of tears, nausea, and panic attacks. Maria dropped out of college, unable to focus on her studies while her world collapsed around her. Her parents, strict Catholics from a small town 3 states away, made their position clear: come home, give the baby up for adoption, and return to the path they had envisioned for their daughter. But something fierce and protective had awakened in Maria. This baby, her baby, was not a mistake to be corrected. This baby was now her world. Elijah was born on a stormy April night, a tiny bundle with Daniel's dark eyes and Maria's determined chin. As she held him for the first time, exhausted and terrified, Maria made a silent promise. "I will give you everything, even when I have nothing." She had no idea how prophetic those words would become. The first years were a desperate scramble for survival. Maria worked 2 jobs, mornings at a coffee shop and evenings cleaning office buildings, while a network of neighbors helped watch Elijah. She slept 4 hours a night, often crying silently in the bathroom so her son wouldn't hear. Her body ached constantly, her hands raw from cleaning chemicals, her feet swollen from standing 12 hours a day. But whenever Elijah ran to her with his arms outstretched, his face lighting up with pure joy, the pain momentarily vanished. When Elijah was 3, he developed a persistent cough that wouldn't go away. After weeks of worry, Maria finally took him to a clinic, where the diagnosis hit like a physical blow: severe asthma. The medications were expensive, even with assistance programs. Maria added a 3rd job on weekends, sorting recyclables at a processing center. The work was filthy and dangerous, but it paid cash. "Some nights I would sit on the floor of our bathroom, counting pills and counting pennies," Maria later confessed. "I had to decide between his medicine and our electricity more than once. The medicine always won." By the time Elijah started kindergarten, Maria had developed chronic back pain from years of lifting and bending. The doctor recommended physical therapy and rest, 2 luxuries as unattainable as a vacation to the moon. Instead, she swallowed over-the-counter pain pills and kept moving. On particularly bad days, she would wrap her torso in tight bandages just to stay upright through her shifts. The factory job came as a blessing when Elijah was 6. The pay was better, the hours more consistent, and it offered the holy grail: health insurance. For the first time, Maria could take Elijah to regular doctor appointments without calculating which bills would go unpaid that month. She worked on the assembly line, packaging frozen meals in a refrigerated warehouse. The cold aggravated her back pain, but she never complained. Each day was one more day of security for her son. What Maria didn't tell anyone was that she had started skipping meals. At first, it was just occasionally, when the groceries ran low before payday. Then it became a regular occurrence. She told herself it was temporary, just until she could save enough for a security deposit on a better apartment, one without black mold that triggered Elijah's asthma attacks. "Mommy, aren't you hungry?" Elijah would ask, his eyes wide with concern as she claimed she had already eaten earlier. "I had a big lunch at work, sweetheart," she would lie, her stomach cramping painfully. "You eat up so you can grow strong." The day she collapsed at the factory was a Wednesday. She had gone 72 hours without food, subsisting on tap water and coffee. The previous week, Elijah had outgrown his winter coat, and the heating in their apartment was unreliable at best. The choice had been simple in Maria's mind: her hunger or her child's warmth. When she woke in the hospital, an four in her arm and a concerned doctor standing over her, Maria's first words were, "My son! Who's with my son?" The doctor explained that her emergency contact, a neighbor named Gloria, had picked Elijah up from school. Then came the diagnosis: severe malnutrition, anemia, and exhaustion. Her body was shutting down. "You can't help your son if you're dead," the doctor said bluntly. "This isn't sustainable." That hospital stay became the unexpected turning point in Maria's story. A social worker visited her room, not to threaten to take Elijah away as Maria initially feared, but to connect her with resources she didn't know existed. A food assistance program. A community health center with a sliding scale payment system. A single mother support group. And most significantly, a scholarship program for working parents trying to complete their education. With trembling hands, Maria accepted the stack of pamphlets and phone numbers. For the first time in 7 years, she allowed herself to receive help. The road forward wasn't easy. Maria still worked long hours, but now she had a community behind her. The mother support group organized meal trains when she started night classes to finish her degree. Gloria and other neighbors created a rotating schedule for after-school care. A local church provided Elijah with winter clothes and school supplies. 2 years later, Maria graduated with her associate's degree in medical office administration. The day she walked across the stage, Elijah cheered so loudly that people several rows away turned to smile at the enthusiastic 8-year-old. That evening, as they shared a small celebration cake in their apartment, a slightly better one, without mold, Elijah handed his mother a handmade card. In childish handwriting it read, "You're my hero, Mommy." Maria broke down then, holding her son close as years of struggle and sacrifice poured out in her tears. "I'm sorry for all the times I couldn't give you what you deserved," she whispered. Elijah pulled back, his expression surprisingly serious for a child his age. "But you gave me everything, Mommy. You gave me you." Today, Maria works as an office manager at a pediatric clinic. Her schedule allows her to be home when Elijah returns from school. Her back still aches on cold days, a permanent reminder of those years of physical labor. But now she can afford the physical therapy that helps manage the pain. They live in a small but clean 2-bedroom apartment with reliable heat and no mold. Elijah's asthma is well controlled, and he's thriving in school, especially in science classes. Maria still carries the emotional scars of those desperate years. She still wakes up sometimes in a panic, reaching for her son in the darkness, momentarily forgetting that they're safe now. She still struggles to spend money on herself, the habits of extreme self-denial deeply ingrained. But she's healing, slowly and steadily, just as she does everything else in her life. "The hardest part wasn't the hunger or the exhaustion," Maria reflected recently. "It was feeling invisible. Society looks right through single mothers. We're either objects of pity or judgment, rarely seen as the warriors we have to become." Last month, Maria started a support group at her local community center, specifically for young single mothers. She brings Elijah along to these meetings, now a confident 12-year-old who helps watch the younger children while their mothers talk. The group provides practical assistance, information about resources, job leads, childcare swaps. But its greatest gift is the simple acknowledgement that these women's struggles matter, that their sacrifices are seen and honored. "I want them to know they're not alone," Maria explains. "And I want them to understand that accepting help isn't weakness. It took me collapsing on a factory floor to learn that lesson. Maybe they can learn it over coffee instead." Elijah, now old enough to understand more of their journey, recently asked Maria if she regretted having him, knowing how hard their life would be. Maria didn't hesitate. "Not for a single second," she told him. "You were never the burden, Elijah. You were the reason I kept fighting when everything in me wanted to give up. You weren't what made life hard, you were what made the hardship worthwhile." As for Daniel, he reappeared briefly when Elijah was 9, reaching out through social media with tentative interest in meeting his son. Maria left the decision entirely to Elijah, who decided he was curious enough to agree to a supervised meeting. The reunion was awkward but civil. Daniel now sends birthday and Christmas cards, occasionally video chats, and has begun paying some child support. He remains a peripheral figure in their lives, not the villain Maria once considered him, but not family either. Just another adult who recognizes, belatedly, the remarkable child Elijah has become. Maria's story isn't one of dramatic triumph. She didn't become wealthy or famous. She didn't revolutionize an industry or discover a cure. Her victory is quieter but no less profound. She survived. She kept her promise to give everything, even when she had nothing. And in doing so, she built something precious from the ruins of her broken dreams, a life of dignity, purpose, and deep, abiding love. If this story moved you, please take a moment to like this video and subscribe to our channel. Your support helps us continue sharing these powerful human stories that often go untold. And remember, sometimes the greatest acts of heroism happen not on battlefields or in burning buildings, but in quiet apartments where parents sacrifice daily for the children they love beyond measure. For every Maria out there, exhausted, hungry, invisible, yet fighting with everything they have, we see you. Your sacrifice matters. Your love is changing the world, one child at a time.